Hello property lovers, welcome to Property Focus, your window into the world of architecture, building construction and real estate. A smart architect can combine the design, brief, materials of a house and deliver it in such a way that it takes people beyond the everyday conventional ways of living, but still design a house that's adaptive to the client's lifestyle. The criteria for what makes a superhouse is highly subjective. Super is not all about scale and size. It's about homes that are imbued with quality that money alone cannot buy. To some, it's all pretense stripped away in a humble shack. To another, it's about the relationship between nature and man-made controls that facilitate this experience. In today's show, we're looking at houses that provoke thought, that go past living beyond the everyday, defining means and redefining what a superhouse is. Welcome to Property Focus. I'm your host, Peter Ngigi. And welcome to Property Focus, Architect Alim.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So what was the criteria when building and designing this unit?
Well, the criteria was to get something that actually worked to begin with. The site was intriguing. It was a very interesting shape for a site. It had a bit of a slant towards it and a river right at the bottom, but then it widened out quite a bit and it had this little bit of a nubbin right at the top. So we had a brief, as you do. The developer wanted to get X amount of units. He had a couple of stipulations. Stipulation number one, he wanted them to be duplexes. We had done a project with him prior, which were duplexes. He was very happy with them. So he felt if we could carry that on to this particular project, then he'd be even happier. So he wanted duplexes. He wanted them to go as high as was allowed, and he wanted them to be connected in some way. In the previous project we had done with him, we had created a skywalk, which was about, I think, 8 stories in the air, where we had 3 towers connected by little bridges, so that while you're walking on the bridge, you're looking straight down and you're looking at 8 floors, which is quite breathtaking, really good feeling. Well, not for me, I'm afraid of heights, but for most people, it was actually quite nice. So we took that and started working on it. Normally when you work on an apartment setup, you have a couple of things that you need to start with. Your grid positions, your parking facilities, because parking very much determines what's happening to the rest of the apartments, and privacy, space. So eventually, after a few back and forth designs and ideas, we came up with the idea of having 9 towers. But then 9 towers is just 9 towers. You're connected by the ground, but what else? So then we looked at the plot, and I figured the way we've set them out kind of patterned a horseshoe. So extrapolating from our previous project, we thought, why not give it a cap and connect all the towers? But if we're going to give it a cap, why not be a bit ambitious about it? Let's put a swimming pool. Yes, so what we ended up with, actually when I presented the idea to the developer, it was where I was expecting to be told, I like it, but it might be a little bit on the ambitious side, but like a shot, he said, this is brilliant, this is what we're going to go with. So now we have a massive, I think probably the biggest swimming pool in terms of sheer length in any residential development in the country. And it sat on the 19th story with an infinity edge, meaning that you can go right up to the edge and look straight down. And I wonder why I did that, because like I said, I'm afraid of heights. But it's looking absolutely beautiful at the moment. So yes, that's pretty much our take back from the brief in terms of the actual overall shape.
What was your first encounter with a superhouse?
When I was at university, I actually studied at the University of Nairobi. I interned at a firm called Studio Infinity Architects with Sandeep Rehal and Gurvinder Manku. They had done a house called Radha Desh, which is right next to the village market. And I saw that and it blew my mind, because I looked at that and I thought, this is a house? How is this a house? It's a monument. It was beautifully done, the extrapolation of the geometries and the spaces and the use of a cone and the way they played with the prism to intersect with the cone. And then, more importantly, internally, the spaces they had created. We have this thing in architecture called interpenetration of space, where you have a lounge space, for example, with a family room on the upper level. That connection of space is what makes a space. That's quality space. I walked into that, I remember going there and I thought, wow, okay, this is a super house. And it was. I think for me, definitely one of the super houses still in Nairobi.
Now, architects are becoming more and more bolder with their designs. What's the uptake in the Kenyan market?
One of the biggest things that changed is we got computer-aided design, CAD design. And the amount of stuff you can actually do with CAD versus having to sketch it out manually and seeing how it would actually work, it's light years ahead. But what does that do for you? It allows you to visually see what you're building, what you're designing, I should say. And because of that, it allows you to be able to go a little bit crazier, for lack of a better word. So as far as architects are concerned, it's a natural progression, because you don't have that trial and error issue you used to have before, which is, I've got this big tracing paper, I got a pen, I want to draw things, that doesn't work, I'm going to scratch it off or rub it off and do it all over again. I can make that mistake in 3 seconds. And if it doesn't work for me, in another 3 seconds I have another option. So I think that is one of the bigger things. But more than that, our exposure to architecture from around the world has very much informed our designs. The limitations are limitations that you set for yourself. Anything is possible, everything is possible. We've put a massive swimming pool on the 19th story of a building right here in Nairobi. Yeah, we can. Why not?
Now, Alim, there's an architect who's watching you right now and wants to become like you. What would you advise that young and aspiring architect?
It's a lovely profession. It really is. It's a hard profession. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of dedication. It'll take you a while before you see the results of it. But if you enjoy what you're doing, really genuinely enjoy it, there is no better profession than this. Oh yeah, and pay attention. Whenever those service lecturers come in with Sijui building econ, with structures, pay attention, man. These things are important. Those are not the lectures to Skype. Okay? Consider yourself told.
And wonderful. Thank you for coming on to Property Focus.
Welcome.
Excellent. Now, is there another house that can top that design? Let's see in just a bit. We're taking a short commercial break, but when we're back, a review of another property. What is a super house? Stay tuned. Now, welcome back from the break and thanks for keeping it property focused. Now, a super house is a vision for what is possible in contemporary residential architecture. Still on our design trends, we're on to super house number 2, designed with a holistic approach, but also with an individualized lifestyle bathed in luxury. Let's have a look and have a chat with one of the contractors and the architect on this particular project. And welcome to Property Focus, Kigo.
Glad to be here.
Brilliant. Tell us about yourself.
I'm an architect working in the architectural field. Been working for 12 years now.
Now, as a modern architect, so to speak, how are you breaking away from standard ways of building processes?
We approach design with asymmetry in mind. We approach design with a holistic aspect where we integrate form. We play with surfaces, external surfaces, and folding forms. Yeah.
Asymmetry. Elaborate on this. What does that mean?
Symmetry and asymmetry. Symmetry is more or less the bit of mirroring effect, where you ideally like just mirror a space from right to left so that it creates more or less a box. Asymmetry is trying something different on the reflected plane. Yeah.
More like joining squares and triangles.
It's more or less playing with spaces so that you don't reflect the surface on the other side. So you're creating a bit of play, something different on the other side.
So tell us about the approaches you've used for this particular house.
We approached this house with a minimalistic, modern approach, where we integrated the bit of modern feel and lifestyle changes that more or less we have characterized in our modern day life. Yes. We've used Yellowstone, and we've used a bit of natural stone in different shapes, so that they characterize the different surfaces on the facade. Yes.
What about the interactions with the external environment and the internal spaces?
We, having in mind more or less the client's brief of the lifestyle, our clients are more into like entertaining, and we wanted to plan the surfaces in a way like it will more or less be switched on and off. So we factored in the common spaces like the dining, the kitchen, the terrace. So in a way like we created an open feel. When one door opens, you can have an entertaining area, and once it's closed, it more or less remains a bit of the house.
Interesting. Now, there's a young aspiring architect who wants to be like you. What would you advise this individual?
I'll advise them to go for it. It's an exciting field where you every day create something new, something modern for people to enjoy, and you'll have an artistic piece all around.
And thank you very much for coming on to Property Focus. Glad to have had you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. There you have it from Kigo on designing a super house. Now, up next, we've got the billboards and the materials profile. Thereon after. Stay tuned. And welcome to Property Focus, Rugut. Tell us about yourself.
My name is Rugut, project manager for this particular project.
Now, the Superhouse client is very specific to what it is they want with materials. What's your take on that?
Yeah, you're right. The Superhouse client is really specific and particular in terms of, the Superhouse itself, it's a Superhouse. So we are looking at the range of finishes, the end product of how that house will look like. It has to come out super. So we are looking at the range of modern finishes, all through from flooring, the types of flooring the client would want, the types of sanitary fittings, the WCs, the showers that the client would want, the modern one, and the quality sanitary fittings for a modern house. We're also looking at the lightings, for the living rooms and the rest of the spaces in the house. And we are narrowing this into a range of two ranges, particularly for this project. We are looking at Italian range of finishes and Indian range of finishes. When looking at the flooring, we have blended for this particular project two ranges of finishes from Italy and from India. We are getting flooring solutions from Italy. Our joinery fittings are from Italy, but we are also blending all our sanitary ware and our light fittings from India. So doing these two ranges of finishes gives us a very wonderful, super house at the end of it.
List some of the items that these super clients like.
When we're looking at the materials, we are looking at the interior and the exterior, and when it comes to interior, our flooring has a combination of marble flooring and tile flooring. And all these floorings are from Italy range. We're also looking at the sanitary ware. things to do with WC. We've done concealed units, the tubs, the showers, the vanity tops. All these are materials are from India. We're also looking at the joinery in terms of the cabinets, the vanity tops, the kitchen. And the kitchen is actually a blend of Italy and India, the cabinets and the marble on top of it. But we're also looking at the light fittings, which we're also getting it from Indian. It's an Indian range of light fitting. Yeah, but when we come to the exterior, we've actually done a local finish. We've done a textured paint on the interior and a blend of tiles also for the exterior walling.
What are some of the challenges you've encountered with contracting for a super house?
Some of the challenges we face on a day-to-day basis, of course, number one is getting these materials. 50% of them are from outside the country. Sometimes there are delays here and there, and we end up not completing the project on time. But also number two, a super client is a super client. I mean, they once in a while comes with colleagues. There is a new entrant of a finish in the market, but in the course of the construction, they want to change, and it becomes difficult starting the whole process of procuring a new material again, and we end up delaying the project and having extra unnecessary costs.
Now, given these challenges, what are some of the solutions you would offer to your clients who are building a super house?
The advice I would give them is to, at the initial stage, before the commencement of the project, to first of all firm up on the range of finish they would want to do. If they are going for Italian range, if they are going for an Indian range, I think that's a crucial decision they need to make at the initial stage, so that when the project starts, everything will be in place, even in terms of timelines of procuring those materials, it will be within the contract period.
Give us your parting shots.
If you really want to achieve a super house, get a proper team in place, from the contractor, the professionals, the interior designers, a team that would be able to advise you, and a team that would be able to take things in control during the construction process.
And wonderful. That was Rugut on the materials for a super house. Now that's it for super houses. Thank you for being with us from the start of the show to the finish. On next week's episode, we look at how to buy land. As always, if you want to advertise your property or seek advice, reach out to us on our Property Focus social media pages, and we'll be more than happy to have experts discuss these topics in upcoming episodes. That's Property Focus on Facebook and Property_Focus_ on Instagram. This has been most wonderful. I've been your host, Peter Ngigi. Now, let me get a super house. Let me get another super house.